So on today's episode of Pro Gear Reviews, we are going to be mounting the AFG to the GSG-15. Now, there is technically two different types of AFG from Magpull. Magpull AFG1 and Magpull AFG2. They distinguish them with different numbers simply because, surprisingly actually, they are very different. One might not catch the differences when you're just browsing online, but when you're actually holding them in your hand, there is a very distinct difference. Inside the box sleeve, there's like a shell that goes around the actual box, is the instructions. So there is detailed instructions on how to mount the grip and how to change the finger shelf. If you're not familiar with what a finger shelf is, it is this piece right here in the middle that sticks out a little bit, like a literal shelf for your finger to sit on. I actually didn't know that it came with this flat piece. I always thought the AFG one from Magpull didn't have this piece that you could remove. So I bought it on the premise that that's what I wanted because of how it fit in my hand. It's just how it was comfortable to me. And I tried the AFG1 and the AFG2, and the AFG2 was much smaller. Now the finger shelf can be moved up and down by inverting it, so that if you want 2 fingers on the top or 3 fingers on the bottom or whichever, you can actually move them around or completely substitute the smooth piece, well not smooth, but flat piece for the finger shelf. So if you can't seem to find that comfort zone, you can take it out entirely and put this flat piece in there, which was actually pretty cool. I kept it just in case, but it could be all one seamless piece right there. The AFG1 has these wings that you see on the left and the right. The AFG2 does not. So presumably, because I haven't done the research into it, presumably the AFG2 is meant for smaller weapons platforms that can't accommodate as large of a grip. As such, it is much smaller. This main bolt here is the bolt that you loosen in order to be able to slide it onto the rail. Without removing this bolt before mounting, you'll only get it on a few inches before it snags on this bolt and you got to take it off. So once it's removed, you can actually slide it directly onto the rail and pick exactly where it goes. Mounting is super easy, with the exception of finding the gap in the rail. So you want to find that slot and get that bolt to sit right between. And unfortunately, I was doing this with one hand, so it was a little more difficult. But when I turned on my flashlight for the other side, you could actually see what I was talking about through the hole of the bolt, where you can see the notches in the rail. And because the shape of the fore end of the rifle, it was a little more difficult to kind of set it in. Presumably, again, because I was doing it with one hand while recording this with my phone. Typically, I use my tripod, but here you can see exactly what I'm talking about when I'm sliding the grip back and forth. You'll catch a glimpse of the gap in the rails, and then once I finally find that slot, then I just flip it over and put the screw in. But overall, the AFG1, if you've got a larger hand, is what you're looking for. If you've got a smaller hand, use the AFG2. If you've got a smaller weapon, use the AFG2. But from my comfort and from my experience, I will only ever use the AFG1. And one of these sources at the gun shop that I converse with on a regular basis regarding ordering supplies and this grip in particular, because there's a multitude of colors that you can get it in. He advised me that Magpull has no intention on stopping the production of the AFG1 or the AFG2. They are producing both of them in quantity because they're aware of the difference between the two of them. And that's it. It's pretty straightforward. They advise not to over tighten the main bolt for the grip. The reason being is that it's technically two separate pieces with the finger shelf in between. With that said, the instructions clearly indicate not to over tighten it because the expansion and contraction of the plastic materials. So in inclement weather or weather shifts, you're going to get a microfracture or fractures, and it could cause the bolt to break free of the plastic or irreparable damage to the grip itself. So make a point to remove the cardboard sleeve and follow the instructions on it, and you'll have no problems. That's it. Thanks for watching Pro Gear Reviews. Again, that's the Magpull AFG1.